Hello, welcome to another weekly devotion with Pastor Andrew. That's me. So I was looking for a book that I've used before with kind of these quirky devotions in it, and I can't find it. So I was looking at the daily devotion I get in my email, and the one today just really spoke to me, and I believe it's the psalm that we'll hear this coming Sunday, July 3rd, right? Yeah, July 3rd. So it does come from the Luther Seminary, which is where I get mine, and it's this God pause, taking time for God every day. But our psalm is Psalm 66, 1 through 9. Let's listen. Make a joyful noise to God, all the earth. Sing the glory of his name. Give to him glorious praise. Say to God, how awesome are your deeds. Because of your great power, your enemies cringe before you. All the earth worships you. They sing praises to you. Sing praises to your name. Salah. Come and see what God has done. He is awesome in his deeds among mortals. He turns the sea into dry land. They pass through the river on foot. There we rejoiced in him. Who rules by his might forever, whose eyes keep watch on the nations. Let the rebellious not exalt themselves. Salah. Bless our God, O peoples, let the sound of his praise be heard, who has kept us among the living and has not let our feet slip. So, in case you don't know, and I always teach this in confirmation, but of course there are different kinds of psalms. There are laments. What is a lament? It is one of those psalms or songs, right? The psalms are songs saying, God, why is this happening? God, for how long will this suffering happen? Or even if someone is angry, those angries. God, why have you done this to me? Those feelings of being separated from God, which also connects to what the devotion will be today. So, but this one, of course, is a rejoicing. Remember God, give God glory, right? Sing praises and joy, right? Joy here, I'm sure it could be translated, as we heard a few weeks ago, not only just, oh, I'm joyful, but complete joy. What does it mean to have complete joy, right? I'm doing kind of this circle because the joy never ends, right? Because where's a corner of a circle? There is none. So this complete joy and feeling just this presence, this awe, right? Oh, how awesome are your deeds. Feeling all these things when we think about God. But I found this devotion interesting because I'm sure we all can relate. The devotional writer writes this: sometimes at our most stressful times in life, our confidence in the goodness of God lacks conviction. Amen, amen. That reminds me. When we see or we hear in Psalms the Selah, S-E-L-A-H, that is a praise. There's no real English translation for what that means, but it's pretty much almost like saying, amen, amen, amen. Yes, make it so, right? That's what amen means. Make it so. If you're a Trekkie, it's Picard, right? Anyway, make it so. Anyway, sometimes in our most stressful times in life, our confidence in the goodness of God lacks conviction. It is not until the turmoil is over that we can look back and see the ever-present love of God, which moved with us, upheld us, and sustained us. Indeed, indeed, indeed. If you haven't been there, you're lucky. Psalm 66 reminds us of God's steadfast love and dedication to us in the face of our enemies. Sam was a young man who lived through a life of trauma. To some degree, we all may have experienced a trauma in our lifetime. Sam was a believer, but due to the heavy load of his past trauma, he could not stop hurting himself with poor decisions in his life. Sam knew he was loved by God, but lacked conviction to bear witness due to the guilt that held him captive. It was not until he emotionally worked through the trauma that he then realized God could set him free. I don't know who Sam is. I think that's just an example. But right, that's really difficult. I'm just looking through this, scanning it. Yes, this psalm reminds us of God's steadfast love and dedication to us in the face of our enemies. In the face of difficulties, I chose this because it brings up one of those big questions, why are these bad things happening, in a sense, to good people, right? Or really to anyone? When we say things like that, why do good things or bad things happen to good people? I think we make a mistake and we separate, and we kind of go back, and I hear a bit of the law there, right? Because again, that Jewish belief, for so long, you do bad things, or your mother or father do bad things. Of course, being a patriarchal society, it was always, sins of the father, right? But it's those sins follow you. So if you're if your family was bad, then you're going to be bad because that follows you, right? And so I think we bring that in when we say things like, why do bad things happen to good people, when it really should be, why do bad things happen at all, and why is God allowing this? See, that big question. There was even something I read recently that kind of reinforced the idea that, reinforce that idea that other saying that we hear, that we shouldn't put really faith into, which is I even hesitate to say it because it's just not true. God doesn't give you more than you can handle. That's untrue. God isn't giving you all these things. These aren't tests. This isn't I'm going to see how your faith is. This isn't the book of Job where someone's like, oh, Andrew or Susie or whomever is so faithful, but only if good things are going on. It's in the bad things. It's in the struggles. This is where we need to grab a hold and rely on our faith. That's a big part of what faith is, to be in these things and to say, God, I need you with me. I need you here right now. And the thing is, God is there. God is there. But all of that to say, to go back to that second sentence, it is not until the turmoil is over that we can look back and see the ever-present love of God, which moved with us, upheld us, and sustained us. It's that whole thing of when you're going through something, you feel alone, right? You feel God isn't there, not, only bad things are going on. And granted, it's hard to see past that, or it's hard to say, oh, well, I know God's with me and it'll be okay. Because it may not be okay. There may be some things that are coming that or are happening that it's not okay, and it's painful and it's tough. Whether it's happening to you, someone you love, or even someone else that you may know or may not know. But it's really kind of that idea as you look back, hindsight, and see this, I don't like this, but I'll say it. Hindsight is 2020. You look back and you're like, that was a really tough time in my life. And at the time, I couldn't see where God was. I couldn't feel God. I couldn't feel Christ with me. I just felt so empty. I just felt so broken. I just felt such tremendous grief. But in the future, as you look back, maybe you start to see things where it's like, gosh, there was this, and I couldn't see it at the time, but I see it now. And if, excuse me, if this or this hadn't occurred, then would I feel this way now? And sometimes that's from personal experience. I mean, sometimes it's really hard. It's really hard. You're going through it. I used to quote that now everybody seems to do, and it's attributed to Winston Churchill. If you find yourself walking through hell, keep walking, because eventually it will end. You will get to the other side. I often use that as a metaphor when we enter Lent. Now we're going to walk into this. We know things are bad. Christ is walking into this for Lent. He has turned his face to his death, literally. And it's a difficult walk. Well, it's a difficult walk for us too. It's a difficult thing to go through this. But this is where we have, hopefully, a strong connection to our faith. Or if we don't have that, this is where we encounter our faith and what this means to us. Because also in the midst of this, that is where, we can sit here and say, I believe, I believe, I believe. But when the poop hits the fan, right? When things are happening, sometimes all we have is what we believe in. All we have is our faith. And all we have is what drives us forward. Some people might say that's a crutch, but I disagree. So anyway, I think it's great to have these reminders of these Psalms. I think all the Psalms are great. Even though we might hear one every week in church, regardless of our denomination or what have you, I like all of them. All of them are useful for us, even the ones that are lament, even the ones that are anger, but also the ones, of course, that are joy, right? And then imagine singing these things. Imagine singing a lament psalm. What does that sound like? I often wonder what the original tunes or melodies of these psalms might be. Maybe they're I don't think they're the tones that we might use if we ever sing the psalms responsively. But anyway, I've babbled on. I looked at the timer and it said 3 minutes, and I was like, oh, I got to talk more. Well, look at that, 10 minutes later. So find faith, or I guess it's in times of trouble, those big questions, in times of trouble, how do we encounter our faith? And have we ever gone through something that was so difficult and we felt so abandoned, so lost, yet when we look back now, we can see where God was indeed at work? And a big thing to do as well is, can we admit that? Can we admit those things happened? Let's close in prayer. Lord, please walk with those struggling with trauma in their life. Grant those who will listen, be the guide which leads them through their dry land to the other side. Yes, often, very briefly, several pastors, when they're writing sermons and then suddenly they don't have anything, or maybe they're struggling in the same way, pastors, people, what have you. And then we might equate that with, I'm lost in the desert, making a connection when Jesus was in the desert and being tempted. Here we are in the middle of the desert, a desert experience. Those can be so powerful, so hurtful, so difficult. But we must know that God walks with us. Must know. Anyway, I have lots of stories about that. I won't go into them. I want to have this already. 15 minutes is too long. Anyway, prayers to you and all of that. We will see you next week. God bless.